Have you ever faced a bully so bold they thought they could break you? Jake Morrison and his friends were disgusted when they saw Zara Washington make the cheer squad at Westfield High. To them, she was a black girl who didn't belong among their traditionally white cheerleaders. So, they tried to get rid of her the only way they knew how, by attacking. But what Jake couldn't see beneath Zara's composed silence was tactical training from her Navy SEAL father. They thought she was helpless, thought she'd crumble like all his previous victims. He was catastrophically wrong. And Zara Washington was about to teach him exactly what happened when entitled bullies fatally underestimated a soldier's daughter. Before we go any further, comment where in the world you are watching from and make sure to subscribe because tomorrow's story is one you don't want to miss. Wait, could this woman's actions spark a chain of events she never imagined? The gymnasium buzzed with nervous energy as 23 girls lined up for final cheer team announcements. Zara Washington stood third from the left, her hands steady at her sides despite the hammering in her chest. She'd nailed every routine, hit every mark, and smiled until her cheeks ached during 3 grueling days of tryouts. "Ladies, you've all shown incredible spirit and dedication," Coach Peterson began. Her clipboard held like a shield. "This year's Westfield High varsity cheer team will represent our school with pride and excellence." Zara's eyes swept the gym, taking in the sea of blonde ponytails and spray tans surrounding her. She caught sight of the football team filtering in through the side doors. Their practice had just ended. Jake Morrison led the pack, his quarterback swagger evident even in sweaty practice gear. Tyler Knox flanked him, thick arms crossed over his chest while Brandon Mills trailed behind, desperate to belong. "The following girls have earned their place on this year's squad," Coach Peterson continued. She read through the list alphabetically, each name met with squeals and embraces. Zara Washington. The words hit her like lightning. She'd made it. Actually made it. Congratulations mixed with barely concealed surprise from some of the other girls. Zara kept her expression controlled, professional, the way her father had taught her. From across the gym, she felt eyes on her. Jake Morrison was staring, his jaw tight. He leaned over to whisper something to Tyler, who shook his head with disgust. Brandon just looked confused, following his friend's lead. "Congratulations to our new Eagles," Coach Peterson clapped. "Team meeting tomorrow after school. We have a lot of work ahead of us before homecoming." As the celebration continued around her, Zara gathered her gym bag and headed for the exit. The football players had positioned themselves near the doors, a convenient coincidence that made her pulse quicken. "Excuse me," she said politely, trying to pass. Jake stepped slightly to the right, not quite blocking her path, but making it clear she had to squeeze by. "So, you're the new addition to our cheer squad?" "That's right." Zara met his gaze directly. "Interesting choice by Coach Peterson." Tyler's voice carried just enough volume for nearby students to hear. "Very progressive." "I earned my spot just like everyone else," Zara replied evenly. Brandon shifted uncomfortably but stayed silent as Jake smiled. The kind of smile that never reached the eyes. "Oh, I'm sure you did. It's just that our fans have certain expectations about what their cheerleaders should look like." The words hung in the air like smoke. Other students slowed their conversations, sensing tension. "And what exactly should they look like?" Zara asked, her voice steady despite the heat building in her chest. "You know," Jake shrugged. "Traditional, the kind of girls who represent Eagle pride, blonde hair, school spirit, the whole package, like Barbie dolls." Zara tilted her head slightly. Tyler stepped forward. "Like girls who belong here. Girls who understand what this school is about." "I understand perfectly," Zara adjusted her bag strap. "This school is about excellence, academics, and representing our community with pride." "That's exactly what I plan to do." Jake's smile faltered for just a moment before returning. "We'll see about that. Football season's a long road. Lots of games, lots of pressure. Not everyone's cut out for it. Good thing I am." She pushed past them without another word, feeling their stares burn into her back. Meanwhile, the 3 boys watched her walk away, their expressions darkening as other students filtered past them toward the parking lot. "Are you kidding me right now?" Jake's voice dropped low, meant only for his friends. They actually put her on the squad. Tyler spat toward the trash can. This is exactly the kind of garbage that's ruining our school. What's next? They going to make us kneel for the anthem, too, dude? What if she's one of those girls who thinks she's better than everyone? Brandon finally spoke up, his voice uncertain, but trying to match their energy. Oh, she definitely thinks she's something special, Jake replied, his jaw clenched. Did you see how she looked at us? Like we were the problem. Tyler's face twisted with disgust. I'm not cheering next to that. My dad's going to lose his mind when he finds out they put some diversity hire on the squad instead of Ashley Martinez. Ashley's been waiting 2 years for this. It's not right, man. Jake shook his head. Our fans don't want to see that representing our school. They want real Eagle girls, not some. He let the sentence hang, but his meaning was clear to his friends. Brandon nodded eagerly. Yeah, exactly. Like, what are people going to think when they see our cheerleaders? This isn't that kind of school. Well, she's about to find out what kind of school this really is, Tyler said, cracking his knuckles. Football season's going to be real educational for her. Jake's smile returned, cold and calculating. Oh, yeah. Real educational. The harassment started small, almost innocent enough to dismiss as coincidence. Monday morning, Zara arrived at her locker to find it slightly ajar. Her combination lock hung open and someone had rearranged her books. Nothing missing, just disturbed. She glanced around the hallway, catching Jake Morrison's eye 3 lockers down. He was talking to some sophomore girl, but his attention kept drifting to Zara. Weird, she muttered, reorganizing her textbooks. By third period, word had spread about the new cheer roster. Zara felt the stares in every hallway, heard the whispered conversations that stopped when she passed. Some students smiled encouragingly, but others looked confused, like she was a puzzle they couldn't solve. Hey, Zara. Madison Clark, one of the senior cheerleaders, caught up with her after English class. I'm so excited you made the team. We're going to have such an amazing season. Thanks, Madison. I can't wait to get started. Don't let anyone make you feel like you don't belong, okay? You earned this just like the rest of us. The fact that Madison felt the need to say it confirmed what Zara already suspected. People were talking. During lunch, she sat with her usual group of friends from Honor Society when Tyler Knox walked past their table. His shoulder bumped her chair hard enough to jostle her backward. Oops, he said without stopping or looking back. Sorry about that. Her friend Jessica frowned. That was weird. Tyler's never that clumsy. Maybe he's having an off day, Zara replied. But she was already cataloging the incident in her mind. The real message came during 7th period study hall. Zara pulled out her phone to check the time and found a notification from Instagram. Someone had tagged her in a post. The image was a screenshot of the school's announcement about the new cheer team with Zara's name circled in red. The caption read, "Guess Westfield's going woke now. R.I.P. Real Eagle Pride. Not my cheerleader." The post had already garnered 37 likes and a handful of comments that made her stomach turn. Most were carefully worded to avoid outright slurs, but the message was crystal clear. Diversity hire much. She doesn't even look like she belongs here. There goes the neighborhood. Zara screenshotted everything before blocking the account, which belonged to someone named Eagle Pride 2024, obviously fake. Her hands were shaking slightly as she put her phone away. That afternoon at cheer practice, the tension was palpable. Coach Peterson ran them through basic routines, but Zara could feel the sideways glances from some of her teammates. Madison and a few others were genuinely welcoming, but others seemed to be waiting to see what would happen. All right, ladies, let's run through the homecoming routine one more time, Coach Peterson called out. Zara, you'll be in the back row for now until you learn all the formations. As they lined up, Brittany Stevens, a junior with perfectly curled blonde hair, positioned herself directly in front of Zara. During the routine, she kept stepping backward slightly, forcing Zara to adjust her spacing. Sorry, Brittany would whisper each time. Still getting used to the new formation. By the end of practice, Zara had been stepped on twice and elbowed once during a turn sequence. All accidents, according to Brittany's apologetic smile. Walking to her car afterward, Zara noticed the football team finishing their practice on the adjacent field. Jake Morrison was deep in conversation with Coach Reynolds. Both of them glancing toward the parking lot where the cheerleaders were loading their gear. Her phone buzzed with a text from her father. "How was the first practice, Warrior?" "Fine," she typed back, then deleted it. "Good. Learning the routines. Pick you up for dinner. Want to hear all about it? I'll drive myself home. See you there." That evening, sitting across from her father at their kitchen table, Zara picked at her grilled chicken while Commander Washington studied her with the intense focus that had made him an effective military leader. "You're quiet tonight," he observed. "Just tired. New team, lots to learn." "Aha." He set down his fork. "And how are your new teammates treating you?" Zara hesitated. Her father had taught her to be honest about threats, but she also knew his protective instincts. "Most of them are fine. There's always an adjustment period." "What about the ones who aren't fine?" She looked up sharply. "What makes you think, Zara?" His voice carried the patience of someone who'd interrogated enemy combatants. "I didn't raise you to lie to me, especially about your safety." "What's happening?" She sighed, pulling out her phone to show him the Instagram post. His expression darkened as he read through the comments. "This is just the beginning," he said quietly. "Anonymous posts, accidents at practice, little territorial games. They're testing you, seeing how you'll respond. So, what do I do? Document everything, screenshots, witnesses, times, and dates. But don't react yet. Let them show their hand. And if it escalates," Commander Washington's smile was razor thin, "then we'll discuss your options. But for now, you stay alert and you stay smart." They picked the wrong girl to intimidate. As Zara headed upstairs to work on homework, she didn't notice the black pickup truck that had been parked across the street for the past hour, or the three figures inside watching her house with growing resentment. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, and Jake Morrison was already planning his next move. The harassment escalated over the next 2 weeks like water building behind a dam. Tuesday morning, Zara found her cheer shoes missing from her gym locker. She'd left them there after practice the night before, and now they were gone. Coach Peterson had to lend her an old pair that were 2 sizes too big. "That's strange," Madison said, frowning. "Who would take someone's shoes?" "Maybe they fell out," Brittany suggested with fake concern. "These old lockers are so unreliable." Zara said nothing, but she noticed Jake Morrison smirking at her oversized shoes during their shared chemistry class. Wednesday brought a new low. Someone had left a banana on her car windshield with a note. "Monkey see, monkey do." Zara crumpled the paper and threw both items in the trash, but her hands shook with rage as she drove home. Thursday, she arrived at her locker to find it vandalized. Someone had scratched "Go home" into the metal door. When she reported it to Principal Martinez, he sighed heavily. "I'll have maintenance look at it, but vandalism is hard to prove without witnesses," he said. "Are you sure you want to make a big deal about this? Sometimes it's better to let these things blow over." "So, I should just accept someone destroying school property because of my race?" "Now, Zara, let's not jump to conclusions about motivation. What other motivation would there be?" Principal Martinez shifted uncomfortably. "I'll have a talk with some students. See what I can find out. In the meantime, maybe keep a low profile." That afternoon, the real message came during lunch. Zara was walking past the football table when Tyler Knox stuck his foot out. She stumbled but caught herself. "Watch where you're going," he said loudly enough for half the cafeteria to hear. "You tripped me." Tyler stood up, all 6 feet 3 inches of him towering over her. "You calling me a liar?" The cafeteria went quiet. Jake Morrison and Brandon Mills flanked Tyler, creating a wall of Letterman jackets. I'm saying you need to move your foot, Zara replied evenly. Or what? Jake stepped forward. You going to run crying to Daddy? Oh, wait. I heard he's some kind of military guy. Must be embarrassing having a daughter who can't handle high school. The words hit like a slap. Zara felt heat rise in her cheeks, but kept her voice steady. At least my father taught me how to be a decent human being. Tyler's face flushed red. You think you're better than us? Walking around here like you own the place? I think I belong here as much as anyone else. No. Brandon finally spoke up, his voice shaky, but determined to impress his friends. You really don't. Several students had pulled out phones, sensing drama. Zara realized she was outnumbered and surrounded with dozens of cameras potentially recording her humiliation. We'll see about that, she said quietly, then walked away. Behind her, she heard Jake's voice carry across the silent cafeteria. Yeah, walk away. That's what you people do best. The phrase, you people, echoed in her head for the rest of the day. Friday brought the incident that changed everything. It was game day, and the entire school buzzed with excitement for the homecoming matchup against their rivals. Zara had finally learned the routines well enough to move up to the second row. And despite everything, she felt a genuine thrill about performing in front of the crowd. She was walking toward the gym for final preparations when she noticed the puddle. Recent rain had created a muddy depression right outside the entrance, about 3 feet wide and 6 in deep. Most students walked around it without thinking. Zara was texting her father about pickup arrangements when she heard footsteps behind her. She looked up just as Jake Morrison grabbed her left arm. Hey, new girl. Got a message for you. Before she could react, Tyler Knox seized her right arm while Brandon Mills positioned himself to block the view from the parking lot. What are you doing? Zara demanded, trying to pull free. Teaching you a lesson about knowing your place? Jake snarled. They shoved her backward toward the puddle. Zara tried to dig her heels in, but her sneakers couldn't find purchase on the wet concrete. Stop it, she yelled loud enough that several students turned to look. Oops. Tyler said as they gave her a final push. Zara hit the muddy water hard, her uniform skirt tearing on a piece of broken concrete hidden beneath the surface. Cold, dirty water soaked through her clothes as she scrambled to get up. The 3 boys stood over her, no longer bothering to hide their satisfaction. Looks like you slipped, Jake said loudly. How clumsy. Several cheerleaders had come outside, drawn by the commotion. Madison gasped and rushed forward. Oh my God, Zara, are you okay? I'm fine, Zara managed. But her voice cracked. Mud streaked her face and arms, and her torn uniform exposed her dignity along with her skin. Brittany Stevens pulled out her phone. This is so going on Instagram. #epic fail. Don't you dare. Madison snapped. But Zara knew it was too late. By tonight, half the school would see her humiliation. The football players were already walking away, high-fiving each other like they just scored a touchdown. Nice uniform, Tyler called over his shoulder. Really brings out your eyes, Jake laughed. Maybe now you'll think twice about where you belong. Zara sat in the muddy water for another few seconds. Not because she couldn't get up, but because she needed to memorize this moment, the feeling of cold mud seeping through her clothes, the sound of their laughter, the taste of humiliation in her mouth, most importantly the absolute certainty that this could never happen again. Madison helped her to her feet, offering tissues and apologies, but Zara barely heard her. She was thinking about her father's voice. Sometimes you have to create your own justice when the system fails you. Tonight she would tell him everything and tomorrow the real fight would begin. Zara sat in her car in the school parking lot for 20 minutes after the game, still wearing her muddy, torn uniform. The Eagles had won 28-14, and she could hear celebration echoes from the fieldhouse, but the victory felt hollow. She'd watched the entire game from the sidelines in a borrowed uniform that hung loose on her frame, a constant reminder of her humiliation. Her phone buzzed with texts, some supportive from Madison and her Honor Society friends, others sharing links to social media posts that made her stomach turn. The video of her being shoved into the puddle had already been shared 43 times with captions like "Diversity Hire gets reality check" and "When keeping it real goes wrong." Finally, she drove home. Commander Washington was waiting in the kitchen when she walked through the door, still in her stained uniform. He took one look at her and set down his coffee mug with deliberate precision. "What happened?" Zara had planned to ease into the conversation, maybe start with the minor incidents and work up to today. But seeing her father's controlled expression, the same look he'd worn when briefing his SEAL team before dangerous missions, she found herself telling him everything at once. "3 football players have been harassing me since I made the team. Jake Morrison, Tyler Knox, and Brandon Mills. It started with comments about how I don't belong. Then missing shoes, vandalized locker, social media posts. Today they shoved me into a mud puddle in front of half the cheer squad and tore my uniform." Her father listened without interruption, his face growing progressively darker. When she finished, silence stretched between them for several heartbeats. "Show me the social media posts," he said quietly. Zara handed over her phone. Commander Washington scrolled through the comments, his jaw tightening with each swipe. "And the school's response? Principal Martinez told me to keep a low profile and let it blow over." Something dangerous flickered in her father's eyes. "Did he now?" "Dad, I know what you're thinking, but what am I thinking? That you want to go to the school and handle this yourself, but that'll just make things worse for me. They'll say I can't fight my own battles." Commander Washington studied his daughter with new respect. "You're right. But this can't continue." "I know. That's why I need you to teach me." "Teach you what?" "Everything. How to defend myself. How to fight back. How to make sure this never happens again." Her father was quiet for a long moment, weighing her words. Physical confrontation should always be the last resort. "Zara, once you cross that line, they already crossed it. They put their hands on me today." "Fair point." He leaned back in his chair. "But there are other ways to handle bullies. Strategic ways. Ways that leave them no room to claim victimhood." "What do you mean?" "I mean, you're David Washington's daughter. You're smarter than those boys. You're more disciplined. And you have something they don't." "What's that?" "Patience. And a father who spent 20 years learning how to neutralize threats." His smile was cold as winter steel. "Tell me everything you know about them. Their schedules, their habits, their weaknesses. We're going to plan this like a military operation." Meanwhile, across town at Jake Morrison's house, the 3 football players were celebrating their victory in more ways than one. "Did you see her face when she hit that water?" Brandon laughed, taking another drink from his stolen beer. "Priceless. The best part was watching her try to act tough afterward," Tyler added, like she wasn't completely humiliated. Jake sat back in his gaming chair, feeling satisfied. "That should send the message. She doesn't belong here, and we're not going to pretend she does." "Think she'll quit the team?" Brandon asked hopefully. "Nah." Tyler shook his head. "Girls like her are stubborn. She'll probably double down, try to prove something." "Then we'll have to get more creative," Jake said. "Can't have her thinking she can just ignore us. What if she tells someone, like her parents or whatever?" Brandon's voice carried a note of worry. Tyler snorted. "Tell them what? That she's clumsy and fell in a puddle? We didn't do anything wrong. Just 3 guys walking to practice who happened to be near when she tripped." "Exactly." Jake agreed. "And even if she tries to make something of it, who's going to believe her over us? My dad practically built the new gymnasium. Tyler's dad is on the school board. We're Eagles royalty and he shrugged. "Not." Brandon nodded eagerly. "Plus, Coach Reynolds loves us. Principal Martinez isn't going to mess with the football program over some diversity cheerleader having an attitude problem." Speaking of which, Tyler pulled out his phone. "Check this out." He showed them a group text thread with several other football players and their girlfriends. The video of Zara's humiliation was making the rounds with commentary that grew cruder with each share. Tommy Williams said his girlfriend might quit the team if they don't do something about the problem, Tyler reported. Apparently, some of the girls are getting uncomfortable. Good, Jake said. Let them be uncomfortable. Maybe they'll pressure Coach Peterson to make some roster changes. What if that doesn't work? Brandon asked. Jake's expression hardened. Then we escalate. Make her so miserable she has no choice but to transfer schools. How far are we talking? Tyler leaned forward, interested. As far as it takes. This is our school, our team, our traditions. I'm not letting some outsider ruin what we've built here. Back at the Washington house, father and daughter were deep in strategic planning. The key to any successful operation is intelligence gathering, Commander Washington explained. You need to know your targets better than they know themselves. What motivates them? What scares them? What would hurt them most? Jake Morrison is the leader, Zara said. Star quarterback, rich family. His dad owns Morrison Construction. They built half the buildings in town. Vulnerabilities? He's being recruited by several colleges. Football is everything to him. Good. What about the others? Tyler Knox. His father is on the school board. Tyler's not as smart as Jake, but he's more violent. Scholarship kid, I think. Football is his ticket out. And the third one? Brandon Mills. Follower, not a leader. Desperate to fit in with the other two. Parents are divorced. Lives with his mom. Commander Washington nodded approvingly. You've been paying attention. Now, lesson 1. Never attack when your enemy expects it. They're feeling confident right now. Untouchable. That's when they make mistakes. What kind of mistakes? The kind that leave evidence. The kind that expose them for what they really are. He stood up. But first, we need to make sure you can protect yourself if this gets physical again. You mean fight training? I mean survival training. There's a difference. His expression grew serious. What happened today was just the beginning, Zara. They're going to escalate because you didn't break. Are you prepared for that? Zara thought about the mud, the laughter, the cameras recording her humiliation. I'm prepared for whatever it takes. Then we start tomorrow. But remember, we're not just teaching you to fight. We're teaching you to win. Saturday morning brought Zara's first lesson in what her father called tactical awareness. They started at 6 a.m. in the basement, which Commander Washington had converted into a training space years ago. Punching bags hung from reinforced ceiling beams and thick mats covered the concrete floor. Forget everything you think you know about fighting, he began, circling her slowly. Movies, TV shows, video games, they're all garbage. Real combat is about efficiency, not entertainment. What do you mean? I mean, you don't waste energy on fancy moves or dramatic gestures. You identify the threat, neutralize it, and get out. 3 seconds or less. He moved behind a punching bag, demonstrating a throat strike to crush the windpipe, a knee to the solar plexus to drop them, heel stump to break the instep so they can't chase you. Zara watched, memorizing the movements. But before any of that, you observe. You learn their patterns, their weaknesses, their blind spots. Sun Tzu said, the supreme excellence is to subdue the enemy without fighting. So I study them first. You study everything. Where they go, when they go there, who they talk to, what they care about. Information is power, and power is leverage. They spent the next hour drilling basic defensive moves, how to break a grab, how to create distance, how to strike effectively despite her smaller size. Zara's muscles burned, but she pushed through the discomfort. Your advantage isn't strength, her father explained. It's speed, intelligence, and the element of surprise. They expect you to be a victim. Use that assumption against them. By 8 a.m., Zara was exhausted but energized. Her father handed her a water bottle and a notebook. "Your homework starts now. I want detailed intelligence on all 3 targets. Where they park, what routes they take between classes, who they spend time with, everything." "How do I do that without being obvious?" Commander Washington smiled. "You learn to be invisible. Watch from a distance. Listen to conversations. Become part of the background like a spy." Exactly like a spy. Monday morning, Zara began her reconnaissance mission. She arrived at school 30 minutes early, positioning herself in the library with a clear view of the student parking lot. Jake Morrison pulled up in his black Dodge Challenger at exactly 7:47 a.m., parking in the same spot near the gym entrance. Tyler Knox arrived 3 minutes later in a beat-up Ford truck, parking 2 rows back. Brandon Mills came last, dropped off by his mother in a silver Honda Civic. During lunch, she sat with her back to the football table, but used her phone's camera to record their conversation patterns. Jake dominated most discussions. Tyler provided aggressive commentary, and Brandon mostly laughed at inappropriate moments. Between classes, she mapped their routes. Jake took the long way to avoid crowds. Tyler cut through the arts hallway where teachers rarely patrolled, and Brandon followed whichever friend was closest. After 3 days of observation, she had 15 pages of notes. "Excellent work," her father said that evening, reviewing her intelligence. "Now, what have you learned about their vulnerabilities?" Jake's entire identity is built around football and his reputation. He's being recruited by State University and Alabama. Tyler's family has money problems. I heard him arguing with his girlfriend about not being able to afford homecoming dinner. And Brandon, he's just desperate to belong somewhere. Good. Now, what would hurt each of them most? Zara considered this. Jake would be devastated if his college prospects disappeared. Tyler needs his scholarship or he can't afford college at all. Brandon would crumble if the other 2 rejected him. And how might their college prospects disappear?